Welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market Garden Life, where today we're talking about this plant. Now, for those of you who have been with us on this crazy journey of gardening plants and methods and all kinds of craziness, ranging from we're now in our fourth season. No, I love me some sages. And here we are back at another sage. It might have to be that sage in our environment here in North Carolina, Zone 8A, has trouble. It's not the xeriscaping plant that it's claimed to be. Pineapple sage is fairly easy because nobody expects it to survive. But you want your sage, your seasoning sages, to make it. You hope they make it. And there's a lot of trial and error with a lot of error. And quite frankly, if I counted the number of plants that I've killed with missteps, I'd probably be up on genocide charges if they were people. And sage especially. But we cracked the code like 2 years ago. And now I have glorious sages. So, this one is Salvia officinalis purpurascens, or purple sage. And you can tell by the foliage color that it's got a purplish cast. It's basically normal sage with a mutation that brings out purplish color. And still in the Lamiaceae family, that's the mint family. Most of our primary seasonings are. And again, salvia is from Latin, salvus, safe, secure, healthy, and also possibly, it may have a root word in salus and salvier, with extra rolling R's. Anyway, it's native to the Mediterranean, but it is a cultivar, so technically its originating parent, and the originating mutation might be, but this is a cultivar, so man-made, man-perpetuated. I have no idea if it comes true from seed. I couldn't find that information readily, but I'm presuming it must. But I imagine, given how slow sage is to grow, they probably propagate it by not by cutting, seeing as how it is in the mint family. And it's got the square stems to prove it. Well, anyway, it's already in USDA zones 6 through 9. It's classified as an evergreen perennial. In the south, it can get rangy after a few years, so you really do have to irrigate and water it more like a basil, as weird as that may sound. Its pH preference is 6 through 7, and it prefers soil that drains well, which in the sandhills, that's the problem. The soil drains well. So you'd think it'd be a win-win, but the aggressive soil drainage in our region takes the nutrients with it. We call it nutrient leaching, and it's a big problem. Anyway, its exposure is part sun to full sun, its height can be 1 to 3 feet, and its width can be 1 to 3 feet. And this plant, I have stalled filming it so that it would have time to settle into its lovely pot and get bigger. It's the Tricolor sage that I did in an earlier video is huge now. So, sages left to their own devices with just a little nudge. Yeah. So anyway, it has no other known as. It's just purple sage. It does attract butterflies when it blooms. However, sages tend to bloom, now. You can't see it off screen, but I have a massive traditional common sage, Salvia officinalis, no additional prefix over there, and it's covered in blue blossoms. And boy, are sage blossoms a sight to behold. Let me tell you, they're sky blue almost, and there's little dark bits, and it's a traditional shaped mint flower, but they're on the spires on top, and you go, how can something so delicious produce blooms this amazing? And around these parts, that tends to be now, but sometimes they'll bud up and be prepared as early as February. It's worth it. It really is. The great thing about these types of sage is that they tolerate deer and rabbits because they're not the first pick for either of those things as a meal. This plant has the same culinary uses as traditional sage and tricolor, as well as golden sage and all the other Salvia officinalis, insert adjective here, sages. What's most interesting about purple sage is that it is visually more showy when you put it in olive oil. You make infused olive oil and you put the sprig of the herb in. It is way more showy under those conditions. Additionally, it blooms lavender blue. As I said, it blooms in May to June, which clearly isn't the case Because if it's like its cousin over there, it's going to be blooming probably in April, May. Dims the Carolina dew. Anyway, I should point out, now here's the care and consideration part. The traditional culinary sages, Salvia officinalis only. We're only talking about it and the ones like Tricolor, Silver, Purple, Golden Sage, those ones. The ones that are a variant on the traditional common sage. They do not like wet feet, so to speak. They do not like sitting in a puddle. They don't like soil that's congested and coagulated and full of moisture. Intensely hard pan soils that become swampy and muddy and gross are not their thing. They want quick draining soil. But they also need organic matter so that they can, bring out nutrients in the soil. So there's that too. A traditional plain potting soil will be sufficient. A moisture retention one is up to you. It's not necessary, in my opinion, in my professional opinion, actually. I wouldn't grow it in straight sand, and I wouldn't count on the books that say that sage is great for xeriscaping because it's hit or miss there. Now, what these sages are great for is, as you can see, an accent pot. This is a tall, narrow pot. I mean, the sides are, I know the angle makes it look like they aren't, but the sides are virtually straight. Straight horizontal, straight vertical here. So it's a tall, narrow pot in which the plant is the centerpiece. And I use these out in the garden on the growing trays at the end of the growing tray, so that it's a little harder for wind to blow stuff off, but also the plant's right there. It's next to the stuff that I've got in peat pots, so I know it should get the same fertilizer they're getting. And it showcases color. Now this one's been out in almost full sun. It gets some afternoon shade, mind you, and it's developed some lovely color here. I mean, yes, some of the older leaves are green, and it's kind of hit or miss, but it's lovely color. And it's side branching. You can see that there are little branches in here, and this is going to be a beautiful plant in a few months. I mean, it's beautiful now. But anyway, it's a good plant for your garden because it's a unique color that, purple is on garden plants is kind of hit and miss when it's a foliage color. It's either dramatically purple or it's a subdued shade of purple, and this is more of a grayish purple. And then there's the whole texture of the leaves thing that sages are so notorious for. So it is a plant you should have in your garden, in my opinion. But now that we've covered tricolor, traditional, pineapple sage, I may take it into like Jerusalem sage or something. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, now that we've covered the core sages, what do y'all think? Do you all grow sages? If so, which ones? I'd love to hear your comments in the comments section. If you like this video, hit like. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. It helps the channel greatly. And the Forage blog is still chugging along. Don't worry about it. In fact, some of the things from the Forage blog are starting to translate back into these videos, as was evidenced with Widow's Tears, which I made a video about because I thought, this is too useful to just be a forage weed. And consequently, in the test gardens, the first mutant one has shown up in the gardens. Traditionally purple flowered, and now I have one that's white with a blue ring on each petal. Interesting. But anyway, check out the Forage blog. If you got any interesting thoughts about sage, go ahead and kick them thoughts in the comment section. And as always, folks, keep them growing, and thanks for watching.